Welcome to the Inspire One More podcast, where we simply bring you authors, speakers, and other individuals to help you sell more, sell faster, and profitably. And today is no exception. I have with me somebody who's with me for the second time, Marc Menard. Welcome, Marc. And I
Hi,
have
Ramez.
I and I also have Matthew Bartolo, and they both are in a very beautiful location, if I may say, in
Yeah.
Malta, right? In the beautiful island of Malta. And just to give you a bit of context in here, Matthew is the founder of Willingness. It's an organization that specializes in helping. Well, they have a lot of coaches, a lot of psychologists, individuals that specialize in helping individuals and corporations to unblock any uh, any uh, any gaps in performance. So they work together with the leaders, they work together with the teams to help drive certain results. So Matthew, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you very much. I've been following some of your podcasts in the past, and I'm very happy to be here today.
Wonderful. And Marc, again, is the second time having you with us. And again, it gives me great pleasure to have you with us as somebody who is an accomplished author, wrote your first book called All for Purpose a few years back. And I know you're working on your second book, which is now bringing the purpose into reality, helping people actually bring that into lives. And also a specialist in investment migrations and of course, one of our associates or one of our consultants with the Academy for Sales Excellence. So again, fully fluent in French. It gives me great pleasure to have you with us again, Marc. Bienvenue, monsieur.
Thank you so much, Ramez, and a pleasure again to be in the podcast today.
That's wonderful. So basically, this episode, I want to just kind of put the context is a little bit different than maybe some of the other episodes we've had, in the sense where we have somebody who's an expert when it comes to mental strength and personal alignment. That we want to be able to have a conversation with Matthew and Marc, who brings in that other angle as well, to really go back to realizing that selling, success in sales leadership is all about mindset. And a lot of time, the way we talk to ourselves, the way that we repeat that story inside of our mind is what ends up coming to reality. But before I dive there, I want to maybe ask Matthew a little bit about what's your backstory, man? How did you get involved in therapy, coaching, speaking, and training on resilience to that extent?
It's a long journey because I've tried many different jobs. I was a hairdresser. I used to organize parties. Yes, I know I was a hairdresser. I used to organize parties. I used to work in hospitality. I had small businesses here and there, but none of them really hit the spot. So I always kept going from one thing to the other. But with every different thing that I did, I feel that I've learned something about myself. And along all these different projects, I was always very much interested in how the brain works
Mm.
because of things I've been through my childhood, because of things I've been through when I was a young man myself. I was very much interested to understand why individuals react differently to the same situation.
Mm.
And nowadays, after all these years of studying and even meeting hundreds of people in my clinic, I am very happy where I am, and I feel that I found my spot. I found my ikigai.
Mm.
And I found that since I found my ikigai, I look forward to Mondays. I never get tired at work. And it's something that it feels so good that I genuinely want to share it with other people. And when I meet clients of mine who are burnt out or are leading groups that are burnt out, that's when I see, listen, let's talk about this. Why is someone doing the same job, the same authority, the same responsibility? One is energized and the other one is burnt out. And I love to go deeper to understand how come One gets energized at work, and the other person, for some reason, says that they're burnt out.
So just if we can explicitly talk about this ikigai concept, and you're giving a lot of the explanation in what you're saying, but for someone that maybe is hearing the word for the first time, could you maybe go back and just say, what is ikigai? What is that?
Ikigai is, people are passionate about something. Everyone is passionate about one thing in their life for sure. And the world needs a lot of different things. And all of us have to do something for work. All of us need to do something to earn money. So if you manage to combine all four things together, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you're passionate about, what you love doing, and then manage to get paid for it, that is hitting the spot. It's finding your purpose. I love to say, finding the reason why you get out of bed in the morning.
Beautiful. Now, you mentioned the word burnout, and Mark, in one of the previous conversations we've had with you, I think that was a moment for you. So could you go back in terms of what happened there and what kind of prompted you to then find this intersection between what you love to do, which is what you're doing now, and being able to be paid for, the world is willing to pay you for, and all the things that Matthew just mentioned.
Indeed, I totally agree with what Matthew is saying. It's about the purpose and the driving passion that it's all inside us. And for me, it happens when I was 27 years old, when I was working as an employee and when I was working in Hong Kong. And at that time, I was overstressed. I was doing very long hours. I basically didn't really sleep much. I was not doing exercises. So my life balance was totally out of order. And of course, at one point, the body says stop to you, so because your mind is going all around. And then I was just living on endorphin thanks to the stress and the adrenaline that I was carrying on every day. And basically, at one point, my body shut down and I got this heart attack. It was acute myocarditis when I was in Thailand. And I got this shutdown, and basically I was in Bangkok hospital, and I stayed there for months. And basically, this was the start of new life because I realized, hey, if you're 27 years old, you got a burnout like that, and you almost died. And actually, I did die for a couple of minutes.
27 years old, huh?
Yes, 27 years old only. And if you look at the history of the celebrities or people who had a heart attack, it's always at 27 years old point. I don't know why, but if you look at a lot of people die at this specific age of 27 years old. So, and that's because after I've done through this experience, I look at it, and it was interesting. It seems that we have this syndrome when we are on our early 20s of the Superman syndrome of nothing can happen to us. And then boom, burnout. And this is where I'm starting to look at a bit like what you said, inside, look at the blockages that I had or the stories that I was going through. This is where I'm starting to do more meditation, qigong, work with the energy healing, but not only that, about the past experience where the traumas are coming in from the family, from society, from beliefs, from limited beliefs. And then when you start to realize that, oh my God, okay, all these things happened because of my fears that I was actually carrying on for all these years, and which I was not even aware. And then this is where you're like, okay, I need to step by step go to each layers and then remove it. But remove it yourself, it's important, but you always need a coach. You always need someone to help you to make sure you can see that clearly and go to the next step.
No, that's quite a very important point, and that in life we start our lives in school, right? Whether it's formal education or even homeschooling, yet you have a teacher, you have your parents or someone who's guiding you. Yet when we become adults, we then think we can just fly the coop. Yet today we know that top performers, whether they are professionals, business owners, entrepreneurs, or even athletes. Actually, athletes is a bit more visible than the business community. They all have coaches. They all have coaches, and the coach helps the individual to reflect, to adjust, and be able to get to what they want to get. Maybe I can ask you, Matthew, here, because today, if someone is listening to us, there could be different types of people out there, right? There are people that maybe are doing sales or are in a leadership role, and they're completely switched on. They see themselves, they're very passionate. But there are some people that are in these roles and they are completely out of their comfort zone, right? So the first job that I got, right, you know the story. I used to sell these knives.
Yeah.
I used to be a door-to-door knife salesman, and quite frankly, when I graduated college, that wasn't on my aspirations, right? When I started university to become a knife professional, a knife seller. However, there are people today that get a job in sales, hoping that they can get an opening within the organization and other type of roles. But today, I found myself through the profession of selling. I was able to realize and build my perception around what selling is. To me, it is being of service to another person, which linked perfectly with my inner values, inner beliefs. So if someone is listening to us today and they might not be where they want to be, what advice could you give them, Matthew, in terms of how can somebody start finding their why, their purpose, and connect the dots to get to their ikigai?
I think if the leader is listening to us, then I would suggest, to do goal alignment meetings. It's very important to support your team, every team member individually, to understand what their goal is and their personal goal, their own purpose, and how it aligns with that of the organization.
Mm,
We need to admit as well that there are situations where the employee is not aligned with the values of the employer, and that's okay. I think that Gen Z teaches us about this, because the moment someone who is Gen Z, who is not aligned with the company, they don't think twice, they just move on to the next company. However, then, if you're the person who is not feeling aligned or out of your comfort zone, and you are listening to us, then you need to understand if there's a pattern. If you are seeing that at home you don't feel part of the group, with your friends you don't feel part of the group, and within the organization as well, then you can see the common denominator being yourself. So it's important to delve a bit deeper, reflect, and understand what relationships mean to you, and how come in all the relationships or most of the relationships in your life you are seeing that you are not aligning, you are not feeling at ease. And chances are that if that is the reason, there's some kind of attachment issue where you are scared that people are going to screw you over, or people are not taking you seriously. So I always take it back to the individual. What are you doing to create this around you? But then, if this is the organization that you want to work at, and maybe you feel lucky that you got a place in this organization, and at this point in time, you don't feel that you're at par with your colleagues, with what you promised your employer, then I think getting coaches, trying to understand better where you need to be and where you're at, breaking it down. And a concept that I really love and I adopted here at Willingness is the Kaizen concept. Kaizen concept is a Japanese concept, and the idea is that you reflect on what you're doing, who you are, and you improve by 1% every day. And like that, you have a clear goal. Some people like to draw it on a board so they can see it, others think about it, others write it. But as long as you can visualize it and you know where you need to be, and you break it down to see what skills and knowledge and this attitude you need to work on to get to the ideal self, or where you would like to see yourself. And then there is, as you both said, where coaches and support comes in to help you get in the most efficient way. Because I always say that the good thing about having mentors or teachers is that you're learning from other people's mistakes. So all the books behind you are written by people who have experienced mistakes, who have failed, or have observed other people failing. So I can do it by myself as an entrepreneur and learn from my own mistakes and failures, or I can read books, meet coaches, and work with mentors, and they tell me, listen, these are the failures that I made and that people I work with made. Don't make them. So the money I'm investing in that session with the coach, with the mentor, I am saving a lot of time, energy, and disappointment in experiencing the failures myself.
Absolutely. That's I mean, this, if people can go back and listen to what you said, it is full of wisdom, full of great ideas. So beginning with the team, if you're a leader, this concept of goal alignment. And I knew that from the beginning, that if I wanted people to to um, to be more productive, I wanted people to produce more. It wasn't what I wanted. It was more about what is it that they wanted. And the more I help them find what they want and then break it down, show them you're gonna get what, in order to, you're not working for me, you're not working for the academy, or not working for the knife company, you're working for you. So the more I align them, that was really how I have discovered this long time ago, because I lived it, and I used to be on the seller side, and then I did that as a sales leader, and I did it the wrong way. And what I mean is I utilized the concept of authority to lead others. And I was very naive at age 21. I was a branch manager. I recruited, Malta, 20, 30 plus individuals, and we were not productive, right? I made a business plan that within it was a summer job. Within 4 months, I'd earn $30,000, but I forgot the basic core. That in order for me to earn $30,000, I got to help my people earn a lot more so that I can get that. And when I made that switch, I went from the first 2 months from losing $10,000. I was in debt. My credit cards were maxed out at age 21. It was just unbearable. But that flip within just a few weeks of this alignment, and that was what gave me the confidence. And I got it. Now I understand how to get results through others. This goal, this personal alignment, goal alignment between individuals and people is a must. It's there. And then you moved into this individual. You mentioned something. What are you doing to create the story around you, to attract everything that you have created, right? And maybe I'll go back to you, Mark, because I know there's something there. And at one point in time, when you were in Hong Kong, in that role where you weren't you were miserable, and you were being dumped, right? So what were you doing to attract all that negative environment, and what were you doing? And then what happened to get out of it?
Actually, I would say, what were you not doing? I was not speaking my own truth. And this is the main issue that people have today. For example, when we have something in our heart that we want to say, most people keep it inside. And what does it do? It's build up, build up, build up, build up, build up. It creates anxiety, it creates stress, it creates health issues, and everything is bottled up inside. And one day, boom, you explode. And this is what happens. I was really unhappy with my previous employment because the way I was treated, and I was not able to speak up. So basically, one day I just explode, but explode in such a way that my body just explode. And this is how I got my heart attack. So it was the bottom up. And most of the people today are afraid to say things, but not only to the employees or to the employers, but also within the family, within friends. How many friends are saying truths to their own people instead of saying the truth right away because they're afraid to hurt their feelings? But by not hurting their feelings, they're hurting themselves. And then it's come back at one point. And then you're not helping anyone. So Sometimes we're afraid to speak up because, oh yeah, but if I say that, he would get pissed off. Yes, but you know what? It's better that he get pissed off and reflect on yourself, because we are all mirror of someone else. So once you realize that we are a mirror of someone else, it's really important to share what you have inside, even though it's going to be painful. And for me, all the time, I have friends or person that I love around me who tell them what they feel inside. By my own action, I'm saying thank you, because I was not aware. Thank you for telling me this, because how would I know? And this is where employers, employees, friends, families have never been taught. We've been taught to calculate 1 + 1 = 2. We calculate so many things for the external world, which is basically how to build a plane, how to build buildings. But we have never been taught how to build a human being. Building, I will say, an emotional, spiritual, I will say as well, human being, which is the key of everything else. And that's why the world is such a mess at the moment, because we create the outside world, but we didn't create the inside world. And this is what we want to do in this podcast. It's basically to reach people, because sales, mental health, and like all the combination of this whole holistic approach, it's one single thing: being the best version of ourselves.
Wonderful.
And also I think what you're saying here is about the gut feeling as well, that you, instead of reacting to the outside world, you go in yourself, even when you're doing a sale, you're meeting that person. If you're really at peace with yourself, you can see how you're feeling about this person, see where this person is taking you emotionally, then you can connect and you trust your gut feeling. But if you look at kids, because at Willingness we have this school for kids and we teach them emotional intelligence. And it's so easy to teach emotional intelligence to kids because they have a very good connection with their gut feeling. Then society and education cuts that connection with our gut feeling. Because then there's a lot of shoulds and shouldn't, and don't show your vulnerabilities, don't do this, don't do that. But when we teach adults to go back to having a good connection with their gut feeling, then you feel the room, you feel that person, and you feel how you're reacting to that person. And you would know that this person is interested. This person needs this. And that's how you are reacting from within rather than reacting to what's going on around you.
Well, I love it, because fear, I think, Mark, you said that fear is one of the strongest emotions that can actually drive people from being who from being authentic, right? And at the core of selling, right? I tell people all the time, if you're selling something you do not believe in, then maybe you should find something that you do. Because if you so belief, so you gotta take that out of the equation. So you gotta have this 100% belief, and if you believe in your product or service, so what are the objections that people will tell you? Okay, I'll tell you, you're too expensive. We have to think about it. We can't afford it. Our product is okay. Our supplier is okay. We don't need a new supplier. And why should I change? I'm happy with my car. So we know the equations of objections is known. And what needs to happen at the very simple thing is the ability for us to show empathy with the client. And again, the concept of an objection is not a rejection. An objection is a request for more information. And if we're empathetic with ourselves and we're able to clarify, as opposed to being afraid, that when they say no, we're afraid of being rejected. So in some occasions, people just don't want to push back. But we just have to realize it's not about pushing back. It's about doing what's best for this other person. How many times would you encourage a child who fails how to walk? They stand up and you just never give up. right? So here we don't want to be, we don't want to be annoying people, right? We don't want to be pushy for the sake of being pushy. However, that confidence, that belief shows in our conviction. Mark, you and I have had coaching conversations, going through our programs, and we can spot, right, certain patterns, certain things that you did well, things that can be better. And I mean, it is in everything that people do, and everything we say or what we don't say, so it is just kind of visible to all. I'm going to shift into the next part, which we're starting to talk about the concept of the psychology of resilience. And on one side, there is the concept of anti-fragility. And I think this is something that you talk a lot about, Matthew. And why is that important? So maybe I'll give you the floor here to just elaborate a bit about the psychology of resilience.
We talk a lot about resilience, especially pro-COVID, because we believe that resilience is when you bounce back. So life throws you whatever, and you bounce back and you keep moving towards your goal. Anti-fragility, which is a concept that I talk a lot about, especially with leaders, is the idea, the mindset that when there is a problem, I'm not bouncing back from it, I'm learning from it. And that changes everything, because as a team, when you are facing a problem from a resilient mindset, then we're trying to ignore it and make the problem go away as soon as possible. And even on my website, I talk a lot about failures, because for me, failures are very important. And when you look at the same problem, but from an anti-fragile mindset, then as a team, we're looking at this problem and seeing what should we learn from this. So it's not something we're fighting against, it's something we're assimilating into our organization to help us grow. That doesn't mean that there won't be sleepless nights, there won't be a feeling of anxiety, there won't be panic trying to solve this situation in front of you. But you know that you are putting it in a context. So willingness has been running for 14 years. So definitely in these 14 years, there's been a lot of different opportunities for growth, challenges. But if you put this problem we're facing right now in the context of the longevity of the organization and how long we want this organization to survive and thrive, then we know that it's a problem we're facing now. A problem that if we reflect on it later, through the Kaizen mentality as well and the growth mindset, then we know that after this situation, we're not going to say, whew, we survived that. We grew from that. So me as an individual, I did not survive COVID. COVID taught me a lot about my clients, about myself, about my team, about how we work as well. So this shift that we did during COVID, for example, we are still using now because these are all tools and skills that we've learned along the way. So it's the same problem with the same resources to face that problem. The difference is instead of waking up in the morning, coming to the office saying, we have that problem that we still need to fix. No, we have this lesson, we have this challenge. Let's see how we're going to make it work, and then see how we can grow as an organization to become truly anti-fragile. So that's why anti-fragility, that you don't break under pressure.
Now, these are really great, a very subtle distinction, bouncing back, yet, learning from the failure. So in many occasions, and I love one of my favorite quotes, you might remember that, Mark, is life is lived looking forward, but life is understood looking backward. And when you look back and you see what went well, what could have been better, and making that Kaizen mindset, having that 1% difference, that 1% improvement every single day, really drives things to that next level. So it's a continuous process. I think resilience is important, but this concept of anti-fragility, just maybe people know about the concept of you got to learn from your mistake. It's not what happens to you, but it's not. I heard something that says, learn the lesson, but forget the detail. If it hurts, it hurts, but learn the lesson and just keep moving. So talking about learning lessons, Marc, I'm gonna throw it at you because you have been there. You've made a lot of different decisions you've learned lessons and you've made decisions as a result of those lessons. So could you share with us maybe a moment or a key learning that maybe you have gone through in your life, recent or maybe a bit distant, that has really shaped who you are today?
Yes, definitely. Basically, one of the most challenging part of my life was when I was in Lebanon, and when I figured it out that the person I was investing with, it was a business partner, the guy was French Lebanese, basically screwed me up, and I lost all my money with this guy. And because I really trusted him on the personal level, on business level, and basically was a professional scammers. And then I realized that I was not looking at the sign, because I put my feeling first to make it happens. And basically a lot of entrepreneurs could be, and I've experienced such kind of things about having a partner which doesn't align with their own values. And this is where we can get thrown out. And basically for me, I invest a lot of money in this project. It was an aquaponic project in Lebanon. The story was amazing behind. I was the one financing that project, but basically the project never happened because everything was fake, because he was very good in faking everything. And then the day I realized that I lost everything, because I was really, even though I lent him some personal money on the side, because he got me through his emotion, because he has family, kids, and everything. I realized everything was fake. And basically I realized, oh, I lost everything. And at that moment, funny enough, I had two choices. Either going totally mad and lose myself, starting to take drugs and alcohol, because the stress was such high that I would need something exterior to basically cover my guilt, because you feel ashamed of yourself, or accept that it's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned in your life. And the funny feeling that I had when I had accepted that, okay, that is the best training course, the most expensive training course you take in your entire life, very, very expensive, very, very, very expensive, but worth it. You know what? I'm going to use it to bounce back. At that moment, Ramez, I had nothing left. And the funny feeling that I had was freedom. Why freedom? Because the stress was so high, I didn't even knew how I will pay my car the next month, because I had to take a loan because of this guy. I could have paid my car right away, but no. He said, no, take a loan like that, Yeah, because he knew that he could take my money from the other side. And the guy worked on me. People who might listen to it, okay, how come you give all the money to this guy? Because you have professional people who get you step by step with emotions, with manipulations and everything. And sometimes when you look at perverse narcissists, because these guys was such kind of things, they really know how to master emotions. So the outcome I got from that was, wow, okay. Thank God I didn't have a family, no kids, so it was only me and myself to take care of. So easier for me to do that. So I turned that to strength, and I said, from that day on, no more. No more. And then you will be looking at the sign. Even though you can see beautiful pictures from someone, look at the side sign. And this is where I learned from that lesson. And this guy, actually, instead of cursing him all the time, I'm blessing him, because that person is that person who makes me grow the most. And we always forgot that to grow muscles, we have to go to the gym to destroy our muscles for them to grow back. So when you realize that failure is a lesson, you don't see failure as failures. You see failure as, oh, what can I learn? More. Bigger the failure, bigger the lesson.
You know, as you're, thank you so much for sharing that story, and I can see, I love the word freedom. I got basically I had nothing, so basically I'm just entering life, as if it's kind of reset button. But could you share with us maybe what was one of the signs that maybe you go back and you say, hey, that was a sign I just completely ignored, and I would love to see if what would be some of the signs, because if someone is listening, maybe the same is happening. They can listen to their gut more often.
Yes. So basically, this type of people, usually what they will always do, they will try to isolate the victim. They will always look at person who have good heart, who are always ready to help, and they are afraid to hurt someone else. This is what I was talking to you earlier before. I was afraid to hurt the feeling of someone else by
That,
saying no.
so that person identified you as somebody who they can take advantage of.
Yes, because don't forget, it's always coming from us. And if we let the other person come inside, it's my responsibility. It's not his. So, and this is why most of us we reject the fault of someone else. But I say, no, 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 it's my fault. It's coming from me. I let him in because I had childhood issues that I have to take care of in the past. That guy was kind of a father figures, and so that's why I get into this trouble of getting into these connections with that guy, because I felt like a father for him. So I let my guard go down, and then it's about, he was always giving me like very good words, loving words, feel secured, and then opposite words, like no, like you do this and make you feel guilty of something. So you always have this mixed feeling of being loved
And
and
then
opposite of being criticized.
mm,
And no matter what you do, it will never be good, because that person gets fed when someone feel uncomfortable. And this is where I realized that, and it's a patterns. It's a pattern in some in this kind of people. And then now what I learned from that, I can spot it right away, because I can see it right away. But at the beginning, if you're too kind, I would say not kind, too nice, because being kind and nice is two different things. Being nice, it's when you accept everything. Being kind, you can be kind with some person, but when you know you need to put your boundaries, you will put it. I was too nice. And that's why that person brought me the best training, the best lesson in my life. So I can only send him blessing, not cursing. And I forgive him big time inside.
I
Wow,
love that.
that's really good, huh? That's the way that you managed to grow from this experience is amazing. Because what he did was he went into your brain and he found what you needed to confirm, to validate, you know? And this ties a lot with what we were saying before about the noise from the outside and the voice from within, eh? When inside our core it's not strong enough, so we don't know our weaknesses, our strengths, and we are seeking other people's validation because of the lack of self-worth and self-confidence, then it's much easier to let someone else manipulate us by giving us these rewards by saying, well done, you're a good friend, I can't live without you, which is, to be honest, a basic human need as well, connection. It's
True.
relationships, eh? But that's when we give more importance and more strength, power, not strength, power, to relationships with others more than relationships with ourselves, eh? And that's where your book comes in and spirituality comes in as well. The recognition that relationship with yourself is at the core, and it should be the relationship that you work on the most rather than and before relationship with others, eh? Wow.
True, because also you need to also pay attention to the environment you're staying. And at that time, the environment was Lebanon. I knew no one. Trust is very hard to build in Lebanon because of the society, which is totally upside down. At that time, there was no government, so trust doesn't exist. So that's why people needs to realize first, realize what kind of environment they are, and then look inside. And without this inner work, I would have been crushed. And without my faith, realizing also the spiritual side of us. And it's not a bad words to say that. People say, oh, no, 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 don't talk about religion. I say, I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about spirituality, spirit, energy. Maybe it doesn't talk with people into the Western world. But if you look to Asia, even in Latin America, they have this spirit culture, which we all part of. We don't even know what Earth is in the entire universe, you know? So, and for me, I see cells, connections with the mind, with the emotions, with yourself as a one single piece, and we cannot separate it. So that's why we're trying to help people to understand who they are.
Wow, this is quite deep, philosophical, yet practical because it happens every single day. And when we're peeling the layers and really digging inside of what's happening in our inner self-talk, how we view ourselves, how others are viewing us, listening to our guts. I mean, the this is really amazing insights. I want to maybe shift into the concept of, you know, uh, building this concept of psychological strength. So a lot of time, the harder the fall, the the more, and again, the more friction, the more that muscle is being built, right? And maybe Matthew, I know, maybe if you want to elaborate a little bit more of how does psychological strength, how is that being built, and what could be some habits that we can share with our audiences that can help them in that regard.
I'm going to add on to what Mark said earlier about the gym.
Mm.
So when we're working on our body, and let's think of the gym or any endurance sport, the worst thing you can do is on your first day, you try and bench 200 kilos,
Mm.
because that's going to make you feel really bad about yourself. You might get an injury, which will keep you for 6 weeks up to 6 months away from the gym, and that's going to be a very big problem. Yet, if you do it regularly and you increase the weight every day, every week, every month, but also it's about what you're feeding your body, which needs to be aligned with what you're doing at the gym. So there are two kinds of people who go to the gym. There's the ones who go to the gym and then feel that they can eat whatever they want because they're going to the gym. And then there's others who will not eat whatever they want because they're going to the gym. And when it comes to our brains, it's exactly the same. It's about what you're feeding your brain. If you're going to set challenges for yourself, and you will see that you start to achieve these challenges and overcome these challenges and grow from these challenges, you will see that within a year, the strength of your mind is much bigger than it was last year. Why? Because you're believing more in yourself. And the same way that you stretch your muscle and you put pressure on your muscle for it to grow, the same thing happens with our psychology. If the first problem that you meet, you are scared of, then that problem is going to become bigger in your eyes. Earlier, we mentioned fear, which is the biggest, not the biggest, but the emotion that affects us the most. Okay, if we look at sometimes how big politicians and big parties win elections, they say we need to change because if we don't vote for us, this will happen. The Mexicans will take over, or the Europeans will come over to our country. So you need to trust me because the other option is scary. This is how we sell insurance. I'll remind you that you can die. I'll make you afraid. So when we are feeling afraid, when it comes to phobia, which is the biggest source of fear in our clients, what do? We start exposing them to what they're scared of bit by bit. And every time we are there being compassionate with them, but at the same time pushing them. So let's say I have a client in Malta, a lot of people tend to have this phobia of cockroaches, which is a harmless insect which doesn't look good, okay? But a lot of people are scared of. So the first thing that we do is build a relationship. Okay, the client needs to trust me so that next session I just get a picture of a cockroach. And I just tell them that the picture is in the room. And they're going to feel this anxiety, they're going to feel this panic. But then I'm going to say, you know what? It's normal to feel this way. But it's okay, I am here for you. And we keep going until the client can actually hold a live cockroach in their hand. If I had to get the cockroach in their hand in the first session, I'll never see them again. They will be scared of cockroaches and therapy. Right? What we need to do in our life is be our own therapists. I'm scared of public speaking. Let me try speaking to my colleagues. Let me try ask a question during a meeting. I'm going to feel the anxiety, but I'm going to remind myself that it's okay. These are my colleagues. It's normal to feel this way. Let me ask the question. Next meeting, I'll ask a question and answer a question of my colleagues. And every time, keep pushing myself until I can stand up in front of 500 people, 1,000 people, and give a public speech. So it's about building a relationship with our mind, making sure that we are friends of our mind. Sometimes I have clients of mine, leaders, who I would say, if you had to talk to your employees in the same way that you talk to yourself, you'll end up sued by your employees because it's abusive. And
Yes.
when it comes to our employees, we encourage them, we're there for them, we support them. But when it comes to ourselves, sometimes the things we tell ourselves are purely abusive. But we
Wow.
accept it because it's with ourselves. So I think first and foremost, build a relationship with your mind. And if you see that there's something that's blocking you from building this relationship, there's something wrong. You need to fix it. Because it's our mind, and naturally, we should have a good relationship with our mind.
I love it. I'm just took a few notes in here. I love how you started by, the concept of building the habit, little baby steps, and then slowly but surely increasing. And it's normal to feel anxious. It's normal to feel this. And by the way, do you really put a cockroach in the patient's hand?
Yes. Yes.
Is it a live one or a dead one?
A live one, and you know what? You know what? The first time I did it, I was scared of cockroaches myself. So I was going with the client in the journey, you
It's
know?
like get one by one, get buy one, get one free,
So now is it a pet? Do you have a pet at home or something
No,
to
no,
make
no.
sure that you have them on the hand?
I get rid of them immediately.
That's brilliant. And then the other thing, which is like if you talk to your employees the same way you talk to yourself, you'll be sued. And that is so true. That is so true. And
And sad, true and sad, huh?
yeah, if anything, we should be empathetic with ourselves. And actually, we teach this empathy. We teach empathy. My brother is a karate instructor. I'm now red belt, so moving up the ranks, right? But one thing that he talks about is empathy. You got to be empathetic with yourself because there are moves that you cannot do, but you just don't give up. Right? I remember my inner self-talk saying, "My God, I don't think I can do that." But then, just take it step by step, do what you can, and then slowly but surely the body learns, and then it can start doing more and more, and it evolves towards what it needs to go. With that intention, I think today we got to be intentional about this and the concept of delayed gratification, right? People want that want the world now, and they're not willing to pay the price to get to where they want to go, and that in itself builds the wrong expectations. And of course, if your expectations are here and you're only down here, you're going to always feel frustrated, and you're going to end up beating yourself and beating yourself and beating yourself. And in sales and leadership, right? That's harmless. That's very harmful, right? Imagine you're showing up to a client and you have this expectation that I'm not bidding. I'm like, why am I going there? Oh, they're not gonna buy. They're gonna say it's too expensive, and all the stuff that comes with it, right? Mark, I'll open the floor for you to say, you want to add something to that, buddy.
Well, I mean, it's as you said, like gratification. It's something also very important to, I mean, gratification to have, but immediate gratifications, especially the young generation now, especially with social media, has done a lot of negative effects on the people's mind, because now everything is instant. And in everything, when I'm talking to people, I said, in your relationship, in your work environment, in your personal life, in your everything that you do needs work in progress. And everyone wants to have the perfect product right away. This doesn't exist. The perfect product, the perfect person does not exist. However, the growing aspect, the working aspect every single day, this is real, and it's a conscious choice. And most of the people wants the end product right away, but it doesn't work like that, because let's talk about relationship, for example. If you want to have the perfect person right away, end product, oh yeah, but you're not acting the way I want. I say yes, but it's your own perceptions, and let's try to see how we can both understand our own needs. Once you clearly explain what your needs are, yeah, but you should know. Yeah, but you need to tell me in order for me to understand that and have the perceptions. It's the same in the company, in the corporate world, the same thing. Understand the needs of the employers, of the employees, and of the client. And then once you understand that, it's a conscious choice to do something that you might not be doing because you're not aware, or because you have not been raised like that. If, let's say, your parents were very loving, touching you all the time, physical touch will be something natural for you to have. But if you've never been touched, you will, and your partner is waiting to get touched more by you, she will not feel love, or he will not feel love, because it doesn't fulfill his love languages, as the book was saying, the 5 love languages. So it's all about understanding the needs of the other person and work on it. And instant gratification is not something which is natural, because life, it's all about experiencing day by day who we are as a human being, as a spiritual being, as an employer, as an employee, as a whole combinations. And we cannot separate this. And that's why I would say, to my last words on that would be, make sure that once you start something, go with the intentions of growing yourself day by day, and be nice with yourself. Be kind. Don't be pushing towards, if I fail, I'm done. No, failure is part of the process, and keep growing.
It's like the
Can I just add something on this of the failure?
Of course.
Because one of the interesting subjects for me is sexuality and relationships. So sometimes I get men who, and this is very much aligned with sales. I get men who tell me, Matthew, I haven't gotten a date for a whole year, you know, and I really want to start a relationship. And then we start unpacking and trying to see what the blockers are. And the block is, I fear rejection. And I'm letting out a secret here. I use it with all my clients and it always works. I tell them, for next month, you need to come back with 5 rejections. I don't care how many dates and numbers you get. What I care about is the 5 rejections. But how am I go out there? Start with people you see outside, on Facebook, on whatever it is. Go and get me 5 rejections. Most of the time, to get 5 rejections, you need to at least approach 15 or 20 people, because some would just ghost you, not reply to you, etc. From those 20 people, one might say yes for a date. And most of the time, within 3 months, they come back with, you know what, Matt? This girl didn't say no. She said actually yes. Because what did we do there? We removed the fear of rejection. Because now rejection has become our goal. Same body, same mouth, same resources, just change a bit, tweaked a bit the mindset. So I'm not going to base my self-esteem on this woman's or man's response. I'm going to go and try my luck, and chances are I'll get rejected. It's part of the game. And then when we change that, most of them, if not all of them, manage to get a date. So this is the fear that you're talking about, no? Fear of failure.
Amazing.
I love that. Something that I love how you were able to kind of, because rejection in sales is rejection in many other aspects of our lives, and the way you deal with rejection. So we used to tell people, I'll even add to that, the level of enthusiasm, right? When you go from failure to failure, your enthusiasm cannot be affected. So if you've had 5 people say no, well, you have to be super excited because this one is gonna say yes. So if you start by you're gonna go out with me, of course it's gonna be a no. Or you want to buy, would you like to have an appointment, right? So your level of excitement has to always be there. And I'll share a story, and that story stuck with me. I was living in the island of Puerto Rico. And there are lots of people that are trying to make ends meet, trying to make a living. They're selling tissue paper or bottles of water at the traffic lights, while people are waiting. And I remember this person came and I was speaking with someone, and I was, let's say, not in a very good mood. Now that doesn't normally happen, but that day that was the case, right? So that person looked at me and smiled, and she was showing me like a plastic, like garbage papers, or garbage bags. You want to buy that? And inside of my car, I said no. And I was angry. I was, no, just like, get off here. Now, this person smiled at me. She turned, kept smiling at the other person, and she offered her the same thing. I was like, wow. I was like, I just gave her a rejection. She smiled at me. She turned around with that smile and energy. And man, so that is just the reminder, right? A reminder to it's not what happens to you, it's how you interpret what happens to you. And it's taking it baby steps, which is building these habits. Slowly but surely, you build resilience. Slowly but surely, you're able to discover the inner strength. It reminds me of the farmer who plants the seeds and waters it for 10 days and says, come on, seed, give me the fruits. But in 10 days, it doesn't take time to build the roots. It doesn't take time to extend the stem to then be able to flourish. And that's the same thing that happens with us as human beings in sales and leadership. Sometimes people, here's another one. People hire salespeople, that they are really good, and they bring them into an organization, and now they stop doing very good, and they wonder why, what's going on? Well, what is so the problem isn't the person. The problem is what's happening in the organization. Do they have the proper structure, the proper rhythm, the proper accountability meeting, strategy meeting? How about trainings? How about development, follow-ups, one-on-one pipeline meetings, tracking? So all these different things that drive a sales process forward, if you do not take the time, right, to do that, it doesn't work. And I worked with an organization, a CBI organization, Citizenship by Investment, that was doing a certain number of files on a monthly basis without any structure. So the file was a low number, but within 3 months of putting some basic structure, the number of files more than tripled or quadrupled just by having this rigor, having the structure, being able to help individuals follow up what's happening, what's the actions and activities. So again, it was all about baby steps. So they had to make calls, right? They had to reach out to direct client, but they had to reach out to indirect clients, referral sources. They had to build their networks. And you don't do it with one call and try to get someone to give you a sale. You have to build the relationship. You have to nurture that relationship. You have to keep building until eventually you can reap the benefit from that. Well, it's been a beautiful conversation, and maybe just kind of wrapping things up in terms of any key final takeaways. I guess the inner well-being boosts the outer performance. I think that is the inner game, the inner mindset boosts the outer performers. Any thoughts, any last thoughts from yourself, Matthew, to our audiences on takeaways, what people can finish with our session as key takeaways?
I think when it comes to body and mind, it's what you feed it.
What you feed it.
So
Yeah.
what you feed it, if I had to say, you know what, for me to take care of my body, I eat whatever I find and I eat junk food all for the whole year. But then every 6 months, I go to the gym. I spend the whole weekend there, or a whole week there. That's where I eat. I only drink smoothies, green smoothies, and I'm on the treadmill and doing weights for the whole week. But then when I get out of there, I go eating junk food again for the other 6 months. And when it comes to mental fitness, most people live like that. So when we say it about physical fitness, it doesn't make sense. People would say, you're crazy. You can't think that you're taking care of your body if you treat your body badly for 6 months, but for a month, for a week, then you really give it your all. But with mental fitness, when we talk to people, the decisions that we make on a daily basis are against our mental fitness. But then a week, every 6 months, we go on a holiday or we go to the spa and we think that that's how we're taking care of our mental fitness. Like physical fitness, mental fitness is about every decision you make. So when you're going shopping at the supermarket, that's when you take care of your physical fitness. When you're hungry and you open your fridge, that's when you take care of your physical fitness. When you are in the morning in bed and you need to go to the gym, but you say it's too cold, it's too hot, that's when you say, no, I need to go to the gym because that's how I'm taking care of my physical fitness. Mental fitness is the same. Every decision we make, we need to make sure that our mental fitness is a priority. And from what we're seeing, even from research that we do at Willingness, we mentioned here delayed gratification. I would say that delayed gratification and emotional regulation are the skills that are going to be very rare to find in employees as well. So if you're a parent or if you are working on yourself, the two key skills, even when we talk to Chamber of Commerce and employers, those are the two skills that are already at a very big deficit in human nature, in humanity. Not human nature, humanity. So if you manage to say no to yourself and make decisions that you will enjoy in the future, that's how you take care of your mental fitness. If you're making decisions to feel good now, chances are that's instant gratification and that's going to you're going to pay for that in the future. So discipline and compassion together is what you need to feed your mind to be as fit as possible.
Wow. Wow. Emotional regulation and mental fitness. And the key thing here is we're always making a decision. And that decision is that decision leading us to instant gratification, or is that leading us to delayed gratification? And what you said there is that delayed gratification, that the ability to make a decision for delayed gratification is becoming a very, very rare trait to find in individuals. And that's why today many many individuals might actually have difficulties at work, difficulties at home, difficulties with themselves, with their health and wealth, because again, you don't build wealth overnight, you build it step by step through disciplined investments and paying yourself first before you pay other things and go blow your money out there and so forth and so on. You remember our financial planning module, Mark, in systematic selling strategies, So again, it's really all these basic fundamentals, and those same principles, man, can easily be the mental or the mental strength for sales leaders who inspire sales professionals. I always aspired to be like my boss, and because I saw him disciplined, I saw him successful, I saw him having a well-balanced life and family and so forth and so on. That really drove my aspirations to move up and make things happen. Wow, that is a great way of kind of wrapping things up on your side, Matthew. Mark, any last takeaways or last thoughts that you'd like to share?
Yes, I will actually bounce back to what Matthew said about talking about your environment and the people that you spend most of your time with, because I think this is a key part as well, because we don't really realize that the unconscious mind is still working, even though we think it's not working. So if you spend a lot of time with people who are negative or like who they are dismissing your dreams or your ideas or your projects, it will affect you, and it will affect your personal life, your professional life. So that's why you might need to take some choice to maybe see less these people which are not really benefiting from you. And it's fine, because the universe or life itself doesn't like to avoid. So if you lose someone, you will get someone else coming in, which will match your mindset and your vibrations, as I like to say, on terms of energy points, and that's why. So because we really are the sum of the 5 people that we spend most of the time with, so select carefully with who you spend. And even though, for example, at work you would say, yeah, but Mark, I have my boss or my colleagues, it's there, it's in my work environment, what can I do? That I say, great, use him to grow. As I said, like people who are here in your environment that you cannot choose there, because you have to work with them, use them as a strength to grow your muscle, like in the gym. And use on your personal life, your own free time, people that you really want to have, to make sure they have the right mindset. For example, yesterday I was with a bunch of friends. They are 22 to 25 years old. I'm 42. Why? I can be like the father.
Mm.
And they say, Mark, we love to spend time with you because you bring us something freshness. And for me, guess what? I love to spend time with them because they teach me things as well about all the e-commerce, internet, how they use internet. I'm like, wow. So this is, they inspire me and I inspire them. You choose this consciousness choice of who you want to spend time with.
Amazing. We are the culminations of all the decisions we've made in our lives. Who we are today is a result of all the previous decisions, and who we're going to be tomorrow and the day after is a result of the decisions that we make right now. And everyone here listening today is finishing the session with some amazing takeaways. And the takeaways is, what are you going to do about it? What decisions you're going to do today to help you get closer to where you want to go? What decisions you're going to do today to help you be the right leader for your team so that they will take the right decisions moving onwards. And I tell you again, this has been a phenomenal session, a phenomenal podcast episode with both Matthew Bartolo.com. For you to get some access, I went to his website. He has some nice resources, videos, podcasts, and things like that. Although it's in the Maltese language, yet there are translations. Am I right?
For the videos, yeah, the blogs and everything else are in English, but the videos for the podcast, because there are videos in English, but there's the podcast, which is in Maltese with English subtitles.
Amazing. So, I mean, we just had one ourselves here, so that can give people a flavor of what they can expect. And again, markmenard.com. I can't wait to hear or to get your book, your second book out there. The title is still work in progress. The idea is all about, how do we go from all for purpose and bring it to habits? And I think what we spoke a lot about today are these little baby steps. So a lot of the book you've mentioned to me before has a lot of the techniques and strategies to give these workouts for people to really take control of their decision-making power, their mental power, so they can go and achieve the goals that they want to achieve. And this again has been a fantastic episode from the Academy for Sales Excellence with the Inspire One More movement. So until next time, sell more, sell faster, and profitably.